My 34-year-old female, life is falling apart and it's all thanks to my husband. We had a perfect life. Both of us worked in the jobs we loved. We have a beautiful daughter, 10-year-old female, and a healthy son, 5-year-old male. When I was pregnant with our son, we both almost died due to complications. So, before the birth and even afterwards, I didn't want to have intimacy. Why would I? I almost died and my body was in pain for months afterwards, even with strong medication. I thought my husband understood because he never pushed me for intimacy or even asked. I thought it was because he understood my pain, but apparently he was just getting it from somewhere else. A few months ago, we were visited by Child Protective Services. I was terrified at first, frantically thinking of what we did wrong with our children to cause a visit. But no. As it turns out, some woman I've never met before died in a car accident, leaving behind a daughter. My husband's name was on the girl's birth certificate, and he was named in the woman's will as the father. I thought it was a mistake at first, until my husband told me the truth. As it turns out, while I was suffering through my pregnancy and the after effects of almost dying, my husband would go to a woman he knew at work and have an affair with her. He said this as if he did me a favor. Well, as the CPS worker explained to us, my husband is her closest living relative that can care for her. The woman's family apparently wanted nothing to do with the poor little girl. When she asked us if we wanted to take her in, I said yes. Yes, I know this might be the true cause of all my issues, but my husband pawned that poor girl off to live with her single mother for 5 years. He doesn't get to pawn her away when she needs help. She's his responsibility, and now she is ours. I told him I'll help take care of the necessary visits for wellness checks and help with whatever CPS wants us to do. All he had to do was explain everything to our children. The fact I'm saying this tells you what he did. Yes, nothing. We had to clean out a room and buy new furniture and even looked for some toys. Our children go to a private school, so I picked up some more work hours in order to be able to afford her tuition. I was the one who had to tell our extended families about the big change because he didn't want to do so. I did almost all the heavy lifting. So, color me shocked when his daughter finally joins our family 2 weeks ago. And the first words out of our children's mouths were, "Who's that?" Yes, I was the one who had to tell our children's school, extended families, family doctors, and my workplace about my husband's affair and subsequent addition to our family. But he couldn't tell our children because he was too ashamed to face them. So guess who was the one who had to explain that they have a sister now, as I'm trying to settle the poor girl into her new home and room. And shocker, our children didn't take the news well as it was happening right in front of them. My daughter was screaming while crying, causing my son and the little girl to cry. A situation that could have been avoided if my husband just did the one thing I asked of him and explained everything to them much sooner. It's been 2 weeks of her living with us, and the situation hasn't improved. My husband has not picked up the slack that comes with having a new addition to the family. So we're struggling right now to make ends meet. I feel embarrassed bringing all 3 children around for appointments and groceries because the little girl is very much obviously not mine, and I can tell people are judging our family. My daughter is much moodier and less happy and refuses to even acknowledge our newest addition to the family. Our son doesn't really understand what is going on, and it's causing even him to lash out. And I don't even know how to help the poor little girl because I know that if I feel like my life is falling apart, she must feel even worse. I suggested family therapy, therapy for our children, and even just marriage therapy so we can hopefully move past this and work together as a unit for all the children. He's refused everything, saying that he knows he'll be lectured by everyone, when all he was doing was trying to help me. I just don't know how to fix this. Please help me. I don't want to divorce him because I just know that will make it worse for the kids. But that's the only option my family is telling me. Meanwhile, his family is begging me to make this work and to just look past it. Thank you. I hear you all loud and clear. I will be looking into therapy for myself and the children, and hopefully a good divorce lawyer. But first, I need to get some answers, because some of you are raising some good points. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your husband handles life through avoidance. You need to talk to him privately and ask him, What does he think his responsibilities are regarding this? What does he think it says about him dumping his responsibilities on you? Why does he think it's fair for you to handle his shame? Does he have any self-respect? Does he understand that if you divorce him, that child becomes 100% his problem? Does he not get that it can get worse if he doesn't step up? What is he willing to do? Comment 2. And shocker, our children didn't take the news well, as it was happening right in front of them. Wait, you moved her in without saying anything to your children? Forget the husband. How could you decorate a room and make arrangements to move a child into your home but no one noticed? OP didn't say anything to her children. OP just assumed the husband told them, and there was no reaction from the kids. I call BS. Now for the update. Thank you for your comments and advice. I've been trying to sort through this mess, and it's been, well, interesting. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, they did. My husband, the man I've been trying to hold on to for the sake of our family, made a choice that left us all reeling. He quit his job. No warning, no discussion, just walked out in the middle of the workday and didn't come back. His reasoning? He said the stress of everything was too much, that he needed a break from it all. A break from providing for his family, apparently. The financial strain hit us like a ton of bricks. I've been picking up extra shifts, but it's not enough. We're behind on bills, and I'm worried about how we're going to keep food on the table. The kids are feeling it too. My daughter's grades are slipping, and my son's acting out more at school. And the little girl, she's as lost as ever, clinging to me because I'm the only stability she's got. In the midst of this chaos, my husband did something I never thought he would. He reached out to his daughter's maternal grandparents, the ones who wanted nothing to do with her, and they came. They saw the state we were in, the stress, the financial hardship, and they made an offer. They wanted to take her in, give her a stable home. They had the means to provide for her in ways we couldn't right now. It was a good offer, a sensible one, but it felt like betrayal, like giving up. I was torn. This little girl, who had been thrust into our lives, who I had no obligation to beyond my own sense of responsibility, was being offered a way out, and I wanted to fight it. I wanted to scream that she was ours now, that we'd figure it out. But looking at my own children, seeing the strain on their faces, I couldn't. So I agreed. I let her go with them, and it felt like I was abandoning her. The house is quieter now, but it's a haunting silence. My husband's absence is clear, and the kids are walking on eggshells, unsure of what's going to happen next. I'm trying to hold it all together, but I'm just one person. And then, just as we were adjusting to this new normal, my husband came back. He had the audacity to walk through the door as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't just turned our lives upside down. He said he made a mistake, that he wanted to make things right. He begged for forgiveness, for a chance to be a part of our lives again. I should have been furious. I should have thrown him out, but I didn't. I let him stay. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was weakness, but I couldn't face this alone anymore. I forgave him, even though it felt like forgiving the unforgivable. The kids are confused, hurt, but they're also hopeful. Maybe that's why I did it, for that sliver of hope that we could be a family again. But it's not the same. There's a rift between us that I don't know how to mend. My family thinks I'm a fool, and maybe they're right. His family is relieved, but they don't see the tension, the way we're all just pretending. I'm trying to find a way forward for all of us. I've started therapy for myself, and I'm looking into it for the kids too. As for my husband, I don't know what the future holds. I'm not sure I can ever truly trust him again. But for now, he's here, and we're trying to pick up the pieces. Thank you for reading. My partner earns triple my salary, but makes me pay half for everything and cheats. So I pay off their debts and change the locks while they're out, leaving them homeless and shocked. Okay. So it's not just boba. Let me preface it with that. It's a million little things and some way bigger ones. We moved in together 6 months ago. Things are normally chill. We get along, we can hang. However, I feel like he doesn't think of me. I ask him to do the dishes. He will leave them for 3 or 4 days, molding in the sink, until finally my roommate or I do it because it's nasty and has to be done. there's no forks. I will ask him over and over again, and he just won't do it. I work from home, and he works outside of the house. So I have more wiggle room to do chores, so I do more chores. I figured he would compensate by pulling more weight in another area. For instance, he makes 3 times the salary that I do, 3 times. But he wants me to pay 50-50 on our dates, which would be fine if I didn't buy and cook most of our at-home meals and also do the majority of the chores. That's not fair. That's not 50-50. He also doesn't pay any of my rent or bills. When I brought this up to him the first time, he didn't believe that I did that much for him. He thought we did equal chores and food buying. I had to start sending him literal receipts and have him compare each of our contributions. I also started sending him lists of things I did every day so that he would know what I had done, and I had records too. I thought maybe he really didn't know, and maybe he would change his attitude and pick up more slack in other areas, but nope. He still wants to go half-size with money and does more chores now, but certainly not half. For example, he put laundry in the wash, but then asked me to do the folding, the most labor-intensive part of laundry. And he will buy groceries and cook. But he makes maybe 1 meal for my 4, and he will get takeout for us at least once a week, which I know is more expensive. But that's the cost of not putting the labor in to cook it yourself. Since I put my labor in for my food and he didn't, it's 1 meal of mine is equal to 1 meal of his, in my opinion. But he says since takeout costs more money, it counts as multiple of my home-cooked meals, which I don't think is fair. Anyways, I recently bought a lot of groceries, I cooked meals, and he ate 5 of them. He also drank all of my bottle of alcohol and the sodas and juice I bought. Then he asked me out to boba, the day after I cooked him dinner, and he finished off my alcohol. And he had me pay for my own boba. It was $6. And when he bought his own, he didn't tip. This man makes 6 figures. I'm feeding him with the food I bought using food stamps. And he invited me on a date and made me pay, after eating my food and drinking my drinks. I don't know how to explain to him that him not paying for boba pissed me off. I don't know how to explain why I feel like this is just another sign on the highway of consistent disrespect. Every time I try to explain this to him, his solution is to just stop doing things for each other. But in my opinion, that's not a partnership. That's a bad roommate who wants intimacy. My other roommate, who travels for work and has maybe been at home half the time, my boyfriend has cleaned the kitchen more times than my BF has, by a significant amount. And on top of that, I had a break to grab coffee in between work sessions. I told him that I had 3 minutes before I had to go back. He chose right then to ask me why I was upset with him. Like I just told you I have 3 minutes before returning to work. Why would he ask me a serious question and expect an answer right then? Like I just told you I'm on a time crunch. I feel like this kind of thing happens a lot. It's small, it's subtle, but it's also big. I just don't think he considers others. Edit. We live in a male 3-bedroom, and we each pay for our respective rooms splitwise. Yes, we each have our own rooms. I like my girly space, and he snores. We split utilities evenly. I do not pay for his rent, and he does not pay for mine. Even. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I feel like he doesn't think of me. He doesn't think of me. You're being used, sorry. 50-50 on dates. Really? You should feel at the very least valued. Sure, he makes 6 figures, but what does he really bring to the table? Nothing. Go find some broke dude that thinks the world of you. You'll be way happier. Comment 2. This guy sounds like a gold digger, but for labor and intimacy, dump him. There's a pattern of being inconsiderate, and even when you point it out, he tries to diminish your work and emotions. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the update. So, things went from bad to worse. Remember how I said my boyfriend was thoughtless? Well, he outdid himself. He lost his job, the one where he was making 3 times what I make. Turns out, he wasn't just thoughtless at home. He was slacking at work, too. And guess who he expected to cover his share of the rent? Yep, me. I refused. I couldn't afford it, and why should I? But then, the landlord got involved, threatening to kick us all out if the full rent wasn't paid. My roommate, the one who's barely home, had to step in and cover for him. She was furious, and so was I. It was a mess. But wait, it gets better. He started spending even more time at home, which you'd think would mean he'd help out more. Nope. He just made more messes and ate more of my food. I was at my wit's end. Then, one day, I came home early from work, and there he was, on the couch, not alone. Some girl from his old job was there with him, and they were a little too cozy for my liking. I lost it. I told her to get out and had it out with him. He tried to say it was nothing, but I wasn't buying it. I'd had enough. I told him he had to move out. He laughed, said I couldn't make him, but I had an ace up my sleeve. I'd been saving up just in case something like this happened. I paid the landlord the back rent my boyfriend owed and a little extra to get him to agree to change the locks. The next day, while my now ex-boyfriend was out, probably feeling sorry for himself at some bar, the locksmith came. We changed the locks, and I left his stuff in boxes outside the door. When he came back, he was shocked. He tried to argue, to get back in, but I stood my ground. My roommate backed me up. He had no choice but to leave. It was tough, but I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was free of him and his thoughtlessness. My roommate and I agreed to find someone new to take over his room, someone responsible and considerate. Life's been better since then. I've been able to save money, keep the house clean, and I don't have to deal with someone who takes me for granted. It's been peaceful, and I'm happier. Thanks for reading. My best friend betrays me by having an affair and framing me for embezzlement. So I expose their crimes and watch them get fired while I take the manager's job. I, 25-year-old female, work as a receptionist. 4 months ago, I made the stupid decision to recommend my now former best friend, Jane, 25-year-old female, for an open position after someone had left. It's a prestigious hotel, so they are very selective about their hiring process. Jane had little to no experience, so I took a risk by vouching for her. Looking back, it was dumb, but I knew she was a hard worker and I could have never guessed what was to come. I trained her during her first month, and she picked things up quickly. After that, we began working separate shifts. It was around this time that I started noticing a weird dynamic between her and John, 35 plus, male, our chief receptionist. One night when I arrived for my shift, I found them acting all giggly and their body language just seemed off. They didn't notice me at first, but when they did, they tried a little too much to act cool, which raised some red flags. There have been too many similar situations over the months, but I tried to deny it. John just had a baby, and his wife comes at least 4 or 5 times a week, sometimes with the baby too. Jane sees this as well, and I just couldn't think she would do something like that. But the awkward tension, quick glances, and giggles just wouldn't quit. So I brought it up 2 weeks ago when we were out for drinks. I was floored by her response. She confessed in a playful manner, almost like sharing a dirty secret. She said they couldn't keep their hands off each other, and that she had wanted to spill the tea, but didn't want to involve me in the drama. When I brought up his wife and their newborn child, she said she didn't care. Apparently, John told her they had been sleeping in separate beds, and his wife stopped caring about the marriage after the pregnancy, and other nonsense like that. I was disgusted, and we had a major fight. She stormed off and cut all contact with me. Since then, going to work has been hell. John is in charge of our shifts, and ever since our fight, he's been giving me the worst shifts and making sure we're not scheduled together. I've considered telling the wife since day one, but I don't have any proof. Same with our manager and HR. I texted Jane saying, "Tell your boyfriend to stop giving me the worst shifts," hoping for a response that could serve as evidence. But she didn't reply. 1 week ago, someone got sick, and I had to work with the 2 evil people. Close to our lunch break, John's wife came in to bring him lunch. She looked tired as hell too, and my heart broke for her. Then I noticed something on John's wrist. He had Jane's scrunchie on his wrist. He also has long hair, but I know for a fact it's hers. He held and kissed the baby with the freaking scrunchie on his wrist. I legitimately thought I was going to throw up. I had a panic attack, I think, at the smoking area. I was crying and couldn't breathe. I come from a divorced family because of my father's infidelity, so this hits too close to home. I am losing sleep. Please tell me, what should I do in this situation? Should I send the wife an anonymous message? I only have her Instagram. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I don't know about telling the wife, but I'd be tempted to tell John, not your friend, that he had better stop giving you the worst shifts just because his girlfriend thinks it's fun to sleep with a married man, and the nerve of saying his wife doesn't care about the marriage since the baby. Yeah, she is probably just trying not to lose it with not getting sleep and dealing with a newborn. Man babies are the worst. Comment 2. It's so sad that he claims his wife doesn't care about the marriage, but visits him 3-4 times a week and brings him lunch. That doesn't sound like someone who doesn't care about a marriage. It sounds like someone who is still making a small effort, which is actually a huge effort when you've just had a baby. John is a liar and he sucks butt. His wife deserves the truth. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. So, a lot has happened since then. I thought I'd seen the worst of it, but boy, was I wrong. Last Tuesday, things took a turn for the unbelievable. I was at work minding my own business when our manager called an emergency meeting. Turns out, the hotel's finances weren't adding up. Someone had been siphoning money from the company account. Guess who was at the center of it? Jane, and the real shocker? She was framing me for it. I couldn't believe it. The same person I had vouched for, trained, and called my best friend was stabbing me in the back. The evidence she planted was convincing. Fake emails, doctored CCTV footage, the works. It was like something out of a crime show. I felt my stomach drop as the manager laid it all out. I was suspended on the spot, pending investigation. But here's where it gets even crazier. John, the chief receptionist, the father of the year, he was in on it with Jane. They'd been using their affair to cover up the real scam they were pulling. I guess their little giggles weren't just about the affair. They were laughing at everyone they were fooling. I was furious, humiliated, and scared. I knew I had to clear my name, but how? I had no idea where to start. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, John's wife showed up again. This time, not with lunch, but with divorce papers. She had found out about the affair. She didn't know about the theft, but she was done with John. The hotel lobby turned into a scene straight out of a drama series. There was shouting, crying, and Jane had the audacity to act like the victim when the wife confronted her. In the midst of all this chaos, I saw an opportunity. I remembered Jane had used my computer a few times for what she said was work stuff. I convinced the IT guy, who always had a soft spot for me, to check the computer's history. And there it was, the proof I needed. Jane had logged into the financial systems from my computer, but she'd forgotten to erase one crucial piece of evidence. Her login details were saved in the browser. Armed with this, I went to the manager and HR. It was a long shot, but it paid off. They reviewed the security footage again, this time focusing on Jane, and found discrepancies in her story. With the evidence piling up against her, Jane cracked. She confessed to everything, including dragging John into her scheme and trying to pin it on me. I was reinstated with an apology from the hotel management, but the damage was done. My reputation had taken a hit and I felt betrayed by someone I had trusted. As for Jane, she was fired and faced legal charges. John was too, once the full extent of their embezzlement came to light. The hotel was abuzz with the scandal for days. Some were sympathetic towards me, while others kept their distance, unsure of what to believe. I couldn't blame them. The whole situation was a mess. In the aftermath, I decided to cut Jane off completely. I blocked her number, her social media, everything. I couldn't have someone like that in my life. It was a hard lesson. But I learned that not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. And just when I thought I could breathe again, another bomb dropped. The manager announced he was stepping down. The stress of the scandal had been too much for him and he wanted out. The hotel was now looking for a new manager, and guess who they were considering for the position? Me. It was a complete 180 from where I stood just days before. I'm still processing everything that's happened. It's been pretty hard on us. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but for now, I'm just trying to get back to some sense of normalcy, whatever that is now. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.